Hey, JK here. I'll thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 sleeps away from opening day for 2025. That means we are 2 teams away from finishing the 2025 30 teams in 30 day series. Tonight we're going to be heading to San Diego to talk about the Dads, or the Padres, or the Friars, whichever one you want to call them. They were good enough to get a 93-69 record, which was good for second in the NL West, and they were also able to get a wild card matchup with the injury-depleted Atlanta Braves. The Dads were able to come out on top 2-0 before they were matched up with the MLB International Gambling ringleader Ohtani and the Dodgers, where unfortunately they did lose, but they kept it much closer than any would have expected because of the high-octane, high-powered Dodgers team. They were only able to win 3-2. Some of the guys that led this Padres team to the NLDS did include Mr. Luis Arias, who led in batting average, no surprise there, Ha-Seong Kim, who led in stolen bases, rookie Jackson Merrill, who led in doubles, triples, and slugging, while Jurickson Profar led the team in on-base percentage, on-base plus slugging, runs, and walks, while Manny Machado led the team in everything else like total bases, hits, home runs, RBIs, and strikeouts. Circling back to Luis Arias, he has been in the league for 6 years and had a 300-plus batting average 5 of those 6 years. His chump year was 2021 when he hit a pathetic .294. Also in those 6 years, he has had more walks than strikeouts in 3 of those seasons, and he's never struck out any more than 48 times in a year. Now, I'm not comparing him to him. However, those are Tony Gwynn type numbers. Again, I'm not saying they're the same. I'm not putting them in the same sentence, other than saying that Tony Gwynn did not strike out a lot, and neither does Luis Arias. In no way, shape, or form am I saying they are the same player. Going from one batter batting over 300 multiple times in a year to a guy who has never sniffed 300, barely hitting between 220 and 260, Jake Cronenworth had a very quietly productive 2024 season. Now, in his time in the league, he's had a few years where he's hit more home runs, actually contributed 80-plus RBIs twice in his career, can give you a handful of bases, but again, always double-digit home runs. Now, he's not going to win you a batting title. He's not going to be the guy to win the league, but he's certainly going to be productive enough if he goes on a little hot streak to give you some counting stats that could move you up in your roto league or give you weekly wins here and there. Now again, batting average, abysmal. Strikes out a lot, but does seem to hit the ball quite often and does have enough guys in front of him in Merrill, in Tatis, in areas where he can get those RBIs. Going from 2 guys who haven't been in the league too long to a guy that's been around since 2012 and was the actual #1 MLB prospect in 2013. Jurickson Profar is definitely a guy that you probably haven't heard of or talked too much about before this past year because he wasn't doing a lot. He was bouncing around different teams. Again, his best years were in Texas, where he had a lot of firepower around him. This last year, he made sure to make the most out of it with the Padres, as he was able to hit 24 home runs, have 85 RBIs, steal 10 bases, have an 800-plus OPS, and on top of all that, he only struck out 101 times. But he walked 76 times, so showing patience at the plate, only swinging at good balls, and seemingly having productive outs. Another guy that seems like he's been around forever and really actually has, 10 years with the Boston Red Sox, 2 years into his 11-year contract with the Padres, Xander Bogaerts was a Yankee killer, always producing at the plate, in the field, and making you eat those mistakes big time. If you were not able to get him out on strikes, if you were not able to get him out in a double play, he was going to steal bases. He was going to come around, make you score, and again, make you pay. Well, again, 2 years into an 11-year contract, not looking good. The decline is real. At age 32, he's still going to produce some, but I would absolutely believe the Padres to be looking for someone to take over shortstop, even though they have 2 guys who have experience at shortstop in Fernando Tatis Juicer and then also Jackson Merrill. So maybe they move those guys in and find another outfielder. But again, those are 2 good outfielders. While we were rambling about Xander Bogaerts, we touched briefly on Jackson Merrill. In his rookie year, he absolutely came on strong and made sure he was one of the top waiver wire pickups if he was not already drafted or picked up in your league. He had 24 home runs and 90 RBIs, both of which were second on the team. He also had 16 stolen bases and was batting .292. Again, as a rookie, that was phenomenal. Absolutely a big reason why the Padres went to the wild card and won against those Braves. Also a reason they're going to get back, in my opinion, and they are going to be looking for vengeance against the Dodgers. Now, I don't know if they're going to get it because of the high-octane, high-power offense they got and, the gambling ring, but I really do believe that the Padres are going to have a top-loaded front few guys in the batting order and a pretty decent pitching rotation. We're going to get to those in a second. But again, this top half of this batting lineup is dangerous. As we now do indeed move to the pitching, there's only one real name you know for the team leaders, as Dylan Cease. He led in everything except ERA, which went to Mike King. And then, of course, holes that went to Jeremiah Estrada, and saves that went to Robert Suarez. Talking about Mike King transitioning from bullpen guy in the Yankees organization to a starter for the Padres organization, I'll be honest, I did not believe in him. Well, he made me eat crow. He had a sub-3 ERA with a 1.19 whip, 173 innings pitched, and had double-digit wins and double-digit quality starts. Oh, Yankees. That's the starting pitcher you literally had and you got rid of. The craziest part is those stats still leave him second fiddle to Dylan Cease. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Mike King. I'm just saying that second fiddle is pretty good with those stats. Dylan Cease is obviously a great pitcher. So when you're a batter and you think, okay, we have Dylan Cease, then who we have? Mike King? Oh man, he has even better stats, in a sense of ERA. So another guy who really made a run over a 9-game start between May 11th and June 24th was Matt Waldron. In that 9-game stretch, Matt Waldron was able to lower his already very high ERA from 5.82 down to a more respectable 3.43. He also had 6 quality starts over 55 innings pitched and had a record of 4-2. By the end of the season, he did have an ERA back up close to 5, but that 9-game stretch, holy cow, Waldron for Cy Young, right? In 2024, the Padres had 2 vets in their rotation that really wanted to establish consistency and set the tone for the rest of their guys. Those guys were Joe Musgrove and also Yu Darvish. Now, unfortunately, Yu Darvish was on the restricted list with a family issue, couldn't come home, but when he did, he was still somewhat productive, however, fell to what his standards were. Joe Musgrove really did still pitch quite well. He was one of 4 guys in that rotation to have 10 plus quality starts and 100 plus strikeouts. The others were Waldron, Cease, King, and of course Musgrove, like we talked about. Unfortunately, he did fall to Tommy John surgery at the end of last season, so he will miss all of 2025. As we move from one group of guys in the starting rotation who had very common stats, we move to the bullpen where a group of 5 guys had some very similar stats in common as well. 5 guys who were able to collect 10 or more holds for this Padres team. 4 of those 5 guys were able to have a sub-3 ERA. Those same 4 guys were also able to have a 10 plus strikeout per 9 innings pitched ratio. So again, these guys were getting the job done, they were getting the outs, and more importantly, they were all bridging the gap to get to ultimate closer, never wavered, Robert Suarez. Robert Suarez was pretty consistent. He did have a sub-3 ERA and a 1.05 whip, so that looked great. The only downside was he's not really a big strikeout guy. Also, he did blow 6 saves. That's not sexy, and neither is the fact that he walked 25% of the batters he faced in his innings pitched. At the end of the day, I think this is going to be a really good team. They're going to contend with the Dodgers if they can stay healthy. Something I really liked was the fact they brought in Nick Pivetta to help with his pitching rotation. They didn't have the sexiest back end last year. Again, 9 starts for Waldron. And then, of course, you had your top 2, but then they mixed and matched and then had injuries. Nick Pivetta's will be able to come in and give you some strikeouts, give you some quality innings, and potentially give up quite a few runs and hits and walks and all that good stuff. But he's still a pretty good pitcher. And they're going to have to rely on some of that pitching because they lost so much on both sides, both in the pitching and in the bats. Jurickson Profar has gone after a great season, like a resurgent type season. They also lost Ha-Sung Kim, who may not have been the sexiest name in the book, but he could steal some bases. Then the pitching rotation was devastated. They lost Tanner Scott, who would have been one of their top arms in the bullpen, but he gone. They also lost Joe Musgrove, like I talked about for the season, and then they also lost Martin Perez. Oh no! I think this team's going to do well. They're going to contend with the Dodgers. I don't think they're going to overcome the Dodgers, but barring injury, they could absolutely be neck and neck with them, with only the pitching really being what's going to hold them back. I do believe this is going to be a 500 team. I believe this is going to be a wild card team. This is going to be a tough team. The bullpen, in my opinion, is the strongest part. The strongest part of a lot of teams I like are the bullpens. That right there tells you that if you can close a game out, regardless of whether it's close to a quality start, whether the bullpen has to come in a little early or whether it is just a perfect 1, 2, 3 type 7, 8, 9 innings. Whatever it is, a strong bullpen will absolutely lead to more wins, regardless of what your starting pitching does. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, but again, if you can close a game out, especially one that's close, that's going to do a lot for you. Well, that's going to do it for the Dads. We're going to be heading to LA tomorrow to talk about the Dodgers, the last team in our 30 teams for 30 days. Now, I'm looking forward to it because that means one more day until opening day. This is Jake Aiken. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.